October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and unfortunately, recent studies show cases have risen during quarantine. So what can you do if you find yourself or someone you know in a violent situation? This is an important conversation we need to be having. So this morning, licensed therapist and social worker Jamie Bornstein and domestic abuse survivor Orna Walters joined me to discuss this. Ladies, welcome. Orna, thank you so much for being so brave and sharing your story. We'll talk to you in just a minute, but I want to start with Jamie. Jamie, families are spending obviously a lot more time together. We're hearing more about domestic abuse. What are some warning signs that abuse is happening in a home, whether it's a child or an adult?
Yeah, so the first warning sign is if anybody feels afraid. That's huge. You need to use your intuition and just trust that. That's a huge red flag. Also, any type of controlling behavior, jealous behaviors, throwing things and yelling is incredibly red flag right away. Just run and do something about it.
Okay, so what if you are the one who is being abused by a spouse? What do you do? And then obviously if you're a child, it gets a little bit more complicated. What do you do if you're a family member and you spot something?
Yeah, so it's really important for everybody not to wear anything around their neck, no necklaces, no scarves. Make sure if there are any guns in the home that they're not loaded. Always have a bag packed at your place of work or at your friend's house that has necessities in it, just in case. Have a domestic violence hotline number on your phone. Memorize your friends' phone numbers if your partner takes your phone, and just make sure that children are safe. Do whatever you can to just keep everybody safe.
As a therapist, what are some of the things that you have been hearing from people? I mean, this is very concerning. I know we talked about quarantine, people being out of work, working from home, distance learning, but this is another issue. That's a big one.
Yeah, I think the problem is that things are not getting reported, and that's what makes it scary. And it's this isolation, and people are not feeling very safe in their homes. If things were bad before, they're even worse now, for anybody. And so if you have a rage issue, you're living with somebody who has a rage issue and an anger issue to a horrible degree, it's very dangerous. So I just recommend that people keep themselves safe. Don't be afraid to tell your loved ones what's going on, because it could save your life.
Orna, I want to talk to you. I want you to tell us your story. What happened to you?
Well, I was living with my boyfriend, who I'd been with a little over a year and a half, and I thought he was the guy I would spend my life with, right? We've all had those relationships where you think you found the one. And on New Year's Eve of 1994, he beat me. And it was really the wake-up call of a lifetime. It was terrifying, and not to mince words, I'm just going to say that I'm only alive here today because our door wasn't closed. Our front door was kind of ajar, and the neighbor came in and saved my life.
Wow.
And it was definitely a terrifying night. But the thing that really plagued me was, how did that happen? I know I'm smart, I'm educated, I had already graduated from UCLA with honors, and yet here I was in this situation. And so the physical wounds certainly took time to heal, but they healed rather quickly compared to the thoughts in my head when I was wondering, how did that happen? How did I choose somebody who would harm me when that was the last thing I actually wanted?
Why do you think so many women have a hard time getting away? Because I'm going to go out on a limb and say that wasn't the first time something happened, right? I mean, there were warning signs.
Well, see, that's very interesting, because when I found myself at the neighbor's apartment, because as soon as I could get out of mine, I did. So I scrambled out of my apartment into the neighbor's apartment, and his girlfriend was literally handing me their phone, and I dialed 911. And while we were waiting for that to happen, I mean, I could hear sirens coming down the street, and my clothes were torn, and I was terrified. But I remember something she said. She looked right in my eyes and she said, "That's what happened with the last girlfriend."
Oh my gosh.
And I want to say this, one of the biggest mistakes that women make through the dating process is we're too accommodating, right? We're taught to be, to go along to get along, make a nice impression. And we don't trust our intuition. I think the tips that Jamie gave are really important for somebody who's currently in a tough situation. And I really want people to understand that there wasn't an abuse situation with my boyfriend. There was one argument that happened before that New Year's Eve. I know it was October 1st because it was a friend's birthday party, and I know the date of my friend. We're still friends. And he, in an argument, he grabbed me and he shook me.
Oh.
And that was my first warning sign. And I was going to leave the relationship immediately. And I went and stayed with friends for a few weeks. And he begged me to come back. And I said I would only come back if we went to therapy. And so this is the place where things get tricky, because I knew better, but I it's like that thing, like I didn't trust myself. And so what I really want women to understand is you are never responsible for someone else's behavior, because as women, we take on the shame of these events. And that's why so many women don't want to come forward. And what I really want women to understand who have been through any kind of trauma, whether it's physical or emotional, or somebody cheated on you, or any of those things, that is not because of your behavior. That action belongs to that man. And we as women take on shame that doesn't belong to us. Those men should be ashamed of their behavior.
You started this by saying that, how did this happen to me? It happens to a lot of strong women. I'm sorry to cut you off, Orna. We're running out of time, but thank you so much for sharing your story, your message. If there's anyone out there who's watching right now and they need help, we have a 24-hour domestic violence hotline right there on your screen, 619-234-3164. Ladies, thank you so much. Jamie, Orna, thank you so much for joining us. This is an important conversation, like I said, that we should be having.
Thanks for having us today.
Yes, thank you so much, Stella.
Thank you.
Have a great day.